Welcome to another session of Health Intelligence. Let's share some of nutrition facts. 85% of people that try to lose weight will always gain back all the weight plus VAT in less than 2 years. You cannot outtrain a bad diet. 80% of your weight loss success starts in the kitchen. Losing 10% of your total body weight can save you from high blood pressure, diabetes, or any of those lifestyle diseases. Sleeping enough elevates stress. Stress changes your hormonal balance. And with your hormones being out of balance, automatically it helps you put on weight. Now, when it comes to Dream Body Fitness, we've got the 3 legs that we use at Dream Body Fitness to make sure that you lose all your weight. And I will use my favorite working tool here. I will use a pyramid. We have 3 areas. We have physiology, we have psychology, and we have physical reasons. All this, the 3 P's of weight loss. The 3 P's of weight loss. For majority of people, when they put on weight, the first thing that they do, they start dieting, they buy a gym membership, or they start exercising. They always attack it from a physical point of view. But you gotta always understand that weight gain is an effect. There has to be a cause for you to put on weight. By the time you put on weight, it always shows you that something is already wrong. Now, I need you to look at your body as the dashboard in your car. When you look at the dashboard, you have different type of color lights. If you have low pressure in your tires, if you don't have enough oil in the tank, if you don't have enough gas, if you've got your wipers that keep on going on, if you've got your turning signals going on, there will always be a light that will show off or show on when it comes to your dashboard. And that automatically tells you that there is something wrong that needs immediate attention. And when this happens, in most cases, we'll either stop the car, get out, pop the bonnet, and see what's wrong. Or we will drive into a petrol station or any car intensive care area to make sure that it gets fixed. Now, these things will always happen with the human body, but the unfortunate thing is that most of us don't even listen. Weight gain is a symptom. It's a symptom that there is something in your body that is not working. Weight gain is a symptom that your metabolism is stopped working. Weight gain is a symptom that the communication between your brain and your gut is non-existent. So majority of people will always rush to the immediate solution of start working out and eating as little as possible. So what I need us to do here is, I need us to start first from a physiological point of view. What are the physiological causes of weight gain? Number 1 here is hormonal imbalance. If your hormones are out of work, it doesn't really matter how hard you train. It doesn't really matter how little you eat. Chances are you're going to give up because you're not going to lose weight. And what are the most common hormonal imbalances that most people struggle with? Number 1 is an active thyroid. A lot of people suffer from hypothyroidism. And unless you go for a medical checkup and find out that this is your problem, that needs doctors or chemical treatment, just rushing to the gym, buying a gym contract and eating as little as possible is not going to work. The second biggest problem with hormonal imbalance here is PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. For most women, if you have put on too much weight, chances are you have grown cysts in your ovaries. If you grow cysts in your ovaries, you're going to put on too much weight. And this thing in most cases will always lead to external excess weight. Number 2 here is your metabolic rate. Your metabolic rate is affected, one, by age. The older you get, if you don't lift weights, you lose muscle. An average man loses on average 4 kilos of muscle a year. So for the first 1 year, the first 2 years, it's only 8 kilos. It's a very significant difference. But after 5 years, you've already lost 20 kilos of muscle. So on the scale, you might still weigh the same, but from a physiological point of view, your body is not you're not the same person. Now you've seen people say, I still weigh the same weight I was at university, and it's already 20 years later. But my question to them is, are you still the same person? Are you still processing the food the same way you were processing before? And this becomes one of the things that we have to understand. What is the number one cause for your weight gain? Number 3 is genetics. People will always say that fatty genetics run in our family. But I always disagree with that quote. I always say fatty genetics don't run in your family. Chances are nobody runs in your family, and that's why you're overweight. Even though genetics plays a very big weight in terms of either putting on weight or losing weight, it is important for you to know if you have a genetic makeup. Look at your mother, look at your grandfather, look at your father, look at your grandfather. If they have the propensity to put on weight quicker, chances are you're going to suffer the same way. Does it mean that you are doomed because of your genetics? Definitely no. We know better than our parents. I know better than my grandparent. My genetics is totally, and most of the time, 85% of it is determined by my physical exercise. If I can eat right and I can lift weights, I can manipulate my genetics. Number 4 here is insulin resistance. When we talk about insulin resistance, majority of us just eat excess sugar. We start breakfast sugar. The next meal is maybe mid-morning snack, which is going to be a snack, which is going to be sugar. Lunch is going to be sugar. Mid-afternoon is going to be sugar. Dinner is going to be sugar. And we do this day in, day out. And over time, it reaches a point where your pancreas is been producing so much insulin to a point where the connection between your pancreas and your hypothalamus, the part of your brain that regulates your metabolism, stops working. We need to know if that is the case. Number 5, we have what we call leptin resistance. Leptin is the hormone that tells you if you're full or if you're not. And if your body is not releasing leptin because you're eating a lot of high-fat, high-sugary meals, if somebody eats chips, if you're eating baked chips, or if you eat a baked potato, and somebody else eats fried fries, those two people have a totally different hormonal response to the body. The person that is eating fries is not going to release leptin. And if you don't release leptin, your brain is not telling you to stop eating. And if your brain does not tell you to stop eating, what will you keep on doing? You'll keep on eating. Now, if you look at most overweight people, the bigger the person, the fatter the person, the more hungry they are at a cellular level. Fat people don't get full because the communication between the cell and the brain to say that it's enough, stop eating, that a thin person feels, they have lost that communication. The next one here is your gut bio. Your gut bio. They always say that your gut is your second brain. We have over 100 billion neurons in our brains. And science and research tell us we have almost 10 to 20 billion neurons in our stomach. And that's why your gut determines your life. We have bacteria, what we call probiotics, in your stomach. Now, if you have bad probiotics, because most people nowadays live off antibiotics, anytime you have any kind of flu, the first thing that the doctors prescribe for you is antibiotics. And the first thing that antibiotics do is they kill your gut bio. The first thing they kill is your probiotics. So if you're eating food but your body does not break that food down, are you really eating? We are used for them telling us that you are what you eat. But I totally disagree with that saying. You're only what you digest. It doesn't matter how well you eat if your body does not break down and extract the nutrients in the food that you've eaten to give you life. So your gut bio is very important. The next thing here, number 7, is inflammation. If you look at majority of overweight people, they have high blood pressure, they have diabetes. Now, those are byproducts of inflammation. What is the cause of inflammation? And it's mostly, if you have high blood pressure, you have diabetes, you've got what we call chronic inflammation. We have acute inflammation. Acute inflammation, if I get cut, if I'm in an accident and I break my leg, that is acute inflammation. I can go to a medical doctor, he will give me painkillers, he will put me in a sling. He'll make sure that he secures that part so that the inflammation comes down. That one needs tablets. That one needs medical intervention. But if I have chronic inflammation, I'm in a relationship where my partner is abusive. If I work in a place where the work environment is toxic, if constantly I don't have money, that causes inflammation. And that inflammation over time will always affect your gut. Anytime you're inflamed, anytime you're stressed, you can always feel that gnawing in your stomach. Anytime you have bad news, anytime you're afraid, anytime you're in love, you feel it in your gut. And that's why we say it is your second brain. If you can feel it here, automatically your body holds onto it. And if you are constantly inflamed because of the amount of stress we live under, then automatically it means that anytime you eat food, there's not enough blood flow in your gut for you to be able to digest it. So your body does not get the needed nutrients. It doesn't get the life it needs from all the ingested food that you have. Number 8 here is stress. Stress is killer. Most of us are afraid of stress. We've got positive stress and negative stress. I love positive stress in my life because without positive stress, you cannot grow. I'm standing here and talking to you now because my heart has positive stress for it to be able to pump blood into my body. I had a hot shower this morning because there has to be stress in the shower head for me to get hot water. But what we're talking about in negative stress is lack of sleep, money issues, being unemployed, being in a negative environment, living with a negative partner, having a negative mindset, limiting, disempowering beliefs. Those things lead to stress. Now, the causes of weight gain from a physiological point of view, you can see are totally very different, that needs a different remedy. Sleep deprivation. If you don't sleep well, you are depressed. Aging. Some people are afraid of age. They look at themselves in the mirror and they get stressed because who is this face looking at me? I can't remember this. And in most cases, people are afraid of becoming their mother too soon. When you look in the mirror, you see you turning into your mom. Some people just become something totally different. Same thing happens with men. So we have to learn to age gracefully. And the only way that you're going to age gracefully, number one, you have to understand how your body works. You have to understand how to feed your body. And you have to understand that your body was never meant to age if you consistently keep on stressing it with exercise. So the less exercise you do, the poorer food you eat, the less sleep you get, the more stressed you become, and of course, the faster you age, and it keeps on increasing. Just to add on another one there, you'll always have easy fluid retention. Most people will always retain a lot of water because they don't drink enough water. The time when you sweat the most is when you're sleeping at night. So the most best thing you should be able to do in the morning is drink a full glass of cold water. But majority of people will always start with a cup of coffee. Coffee is a dehydrant. If you look at most people going to work in the morning, they're always drinking an energy drink. That's the worst thing that a human being can put into their body. Because you love juice, does not mean that your car, if you put juice in your car is going to drive properly. Your car is going to stutter. Your car is going to break down. And that's exactly what most people do. One of the worst things that you can do is drink energy juice. It's exactly like load shedding the ESCOM. It gives you this big spurt of energy for 20 minutes, and then for the next 20 hours, you can't even think straight. You have to keep on taking in more, which increases your cortisol. Now, if we look at now psychological is purely mind. Your mind plays a very big part when it comes to weight gain, when it comes to changing your life, when it comes to making money, and definitely when it comes to being happy. If you cannot control your thoughts, you cannot live a good life. And you cannot expect to have a positive life if you constantly have negative thoughts. And one thing that most of us have never been taught, we've never been taught how to think. They teach us how to eat. They teach us how to exercise. They teach us how to count. They teach us more or less how to live with other people. But nobody ever sits us down to teach us how to think. But you forget that every single thing that you do in your life comes from your thought. You cannot talk, you cannot do before thinking it. If you can hear my words, then it means my word is an expression of what I'm thinking first. I have to think it, I have to say it, then I have to do it. And most people don't. So your psychology plays a very big part when it comes to you being healthy and losing weight. The first place it starts here is what we call emotional eating. There's a lot of people are just eating because they're trying to run away from a feeling. They're trying more or less to cover something that they don't want to feel at all. If they're sick, they eat. If they're stressed, they eat. If they're anxious, they eat. If they are sad, they eat. So very few people nowadays that eat because they're hungry. People are constantly eating to run away from a feeling. People are constantly eating because they don't want to feel a feeling. Emotional eating is a big problem. And until you understand why you're eating, when was the last time you ate because you are hungry? There's a big difference between emotional eating and hormonal hunger. Hormonal hunger is where it gnaws in my stomach, where I can feel growling in my stomach. So very few people, unless you just don't have food. The people that live in the suburbs, we eat because the food is here. Number 2 here is binge eating. Binge eating is a big factor when it comes to consuming such a big amounts of food in a short time. And this is always accompanied by feelings of guilt. You eat, and then you stand, you look at yourself in the mirror, you feel guilty, and then you eat again because you hate the way you eat, and then you feel sad, then to feel better, you eat again. And anytime you binge eating, you'll never binge eat eggs, you'll never binge eat meat, you'll never binge eat salad. You'll always binge eat the worst foods. You eat manguinas, you eat pizzas, you eat hamburgers, you eat all those things, you drink Coke. You always eat those things that make you feel bad. And because you feel bad, you're craving to feel better. To feel better, you want to eat more bad food. Number 3 here is food addiction. You can stop smoking. It's not easy, but you can. You can stop drinking. It's not easy, but you can. You can stop being a sex addict. It's not easy, but you can. But you can't stop being a food addict, because food is one thing, if you stop eating, you die. It's the one thing that we eat specifically because we have to perpetuate and we have to maintain life. Food is the first thing a human being is addicted to from the first day that you come out of your mother's womb. When a child is born, the minute they came out, they cry. And the first cry is purely to open their lungs. The second cry is because they're hungry, they need to eat. And what do they go for? They'll always go for the mother's breast. So we get addicted to food the first 10 minutes that we are alive. And the majority of people, unfortunately, they associate food with negativity. They eat and they feel negative. Because they feel negative, they crave to feel better. Food addiction is a big problem. Number 4 here is mindless eating. If you ask a lot of people, what did you eat yesterday? They can't even remember. Some people even forget the last meal they ate now, and they just ate 20 minutes ago, because we're eating. And For you to be mindless eating, the biggest cause of mindless eating is eating while watching television. You must always eat where you're supposed to eat. If you eat in the bedroom, it's the wrong place. If you eat in the kitchen, it's the wrong place. If you eat in your study, it's the wrong place. If you eat in your entertainment room, it's the wrong place. You must always have a designated place for eating. When you're eating, you must make sure your electronics are off. You must make sure you're quiet. You need to learn to chew your food. You need to learn to chew your food on average 20 times before you swallow. If you can chew your food on average 20 times, it's very hard for you to overeat because your brain will tell you to stop eating before you fill your plate for the second time. Number 5 is social pressure. It's very hard for you to be thin if you come from a family of big people. If the only way your family shows love is through food, and you've seen it with young kids. I remember when you were kids and your grandmother, you left with your grandmother to feed you. When she tries to feed you and as a child you say it's enough, they take a food and they start flying it like a plane in your face. They force you to a point when you open your mouth, they shove it in there. And that's where food abuse starts. So they start to override your own body telling you that stop eating, it's enough. So social pressure is a very big thing. You cannot lose weight if you have fat friends. You cannot lose weight if you have people that like to eat out. You cannot lose weight if you have people that like junks. So social pressure is a very big cause when it comes to psychological eating. Number 6 here is lack of self-care as a value. If you don't value your own body, who will? And if you look at the bigger percentage of the population we live in, people don't really care how they look. How do you expect to find somebody that loves you and you can't stand yourself in the mirror? It makes no sense. Chasing people around and asking them, how do you love me? How much do you love me? Promise me you'll never leave me. Because your own values is a sense of insecurity. We need to make sure that self-care becomes one of our personal values. Perfectionism, number 8. Perfectionism. Perfectionism in most cases leads to unrealistic expectations. You want to look like Kardashians. You want to look like your Instagram models. You want to look like somebody's Hollywood moment. You don't know how many or how long, how many reels it took for them to look like that for it to be posted. If you meet this person on the street, they do not look at all like that person you see. But you kill yourself comparing your normal home picture with a person that is unfair expectations, something that is doctored and something that is completely rehearsed. Perfectionism leads to unrealistic expectations, and that in most cases will always lead to failure. And when you fail, when you try so hard to look like somebody else, that automatically, the end game here is emotional eating. You eat because you say whatever you're trying to do does not work. Number 8 is trauma. You are a product of your past, but don't be a prisoner of it. Most people live too much in the past. Most people's identity is what happened to them. Most people don't realize that what happened in the past is only living because they keep on talking about it. Whatever happened in the past didn't happen to you, it happened for you. You must learn to build. Use the bricks that life is thrown at you. Use them as steps rather than building a wall, keeping yourself in, and you can't climb out and come meet people outside. Trauma is real, and I'm not trying to underplay what you're going through. I don't know what your personal story is, but there's no human being that has not been traumatized. We all come from very tough backgrounds, and we live in a country where strange things happen. But it is a choice. You either choose to live in the past, or you decide to create a new beginning and use the past as the launching pad for you to create the new you. Number 9 here is body image issues. Body image issues. When you look at yourself in the mirror, and I've seen this a lot with most of the women that I train in the gym, you can be training a woman. I've trained a couple of Miss Universe. They're going to compete at Miss Universe. Everybody, when everybody in the gym, when they see them, they get struck in their position of how beautiful that woman is. But the woman can't stand herself in the mirror. She says of how ugly she is. And the problem here is because she's got negative body issues. She's got a distorted view of what she sees. And that makes me to make you realize that our brains, we don't see with our eyes. We see with our brains. We see with our brains, and we only use our eyes as mirrors to see what's in the world. How you think of yourself and how you talk to yourself becomes the world, becomes the mirror, becomes the lens at which you look at the world. You don't see the world the way it is. You see the world the way you are. And until you change who you are as a person, your world cannot change. And then last one here is mental health condition. Depression is real. Depression is real. And post-COVID, the percentage of depression among men is risen to 75%. But it's not a sexy topic, so nobody talks about it. And the society we live in says that if a man is depressed, he deserves it, which makes it very hard for men to deal with depression. But depression is a dark place. It's a very dark place. Sometimes you need somebody to throw you a rope for you to be able to pull it out. There's no way you're going to be depressed and not be anxious. Anxiety is real. And chances are, the minute you have these two disorders, chances of you becoming bipolar, having bipolar disorder, it increases your risk. And that increases your risk to overeating and, of course, gaining weight. Those becomes the most important things when it comes to psychological causes for weight gain. But of course, we have things like cognitive distortions, negative thought patterns. We have lack of motivation because you feel like your life is not going anywhere. But we don't have time to go into that. And of course, we come into the physical aspect. Now, if you look at the physical aspect here, the physical reasons why most people cannot lose weight. Number one is lifestyle. There's a big difference if you look at lifestyle in the townships and you look at lifestyle in the suburbs. People in the suburbs, they're either running, walking the dogs. You find them riding bicycles. You find them doing all kinds of exercises. If you go into the townships, the best you can see most people doing is sitting on the side of the road, talking among themselves, drinking alcohol, watching television. Now, lifestyle plays a big role, and lifestyle is always determined by the environment. It's very hard for a black child that is born in the township to be used to exercise because he's not used to seeing his father put on little shorts, get out of the house and go running. The only time he sees his father running is when he's late for work. So there is a very negative connotation to it. He's never seen his mother put on her yoga pants, take a green smoothie, drop her at school and go do a yoga class. These are things that we see in the suburb. So kids grow up with a positive mindset when it comes to exercise, while in the townships, most people look at exercise unless the doctor says this is a white man's kind of lifestyle. So lifestyle plays a very big part. Environment. Where you live limits what you do. If you live in a poor environment, it means chances of you going running in the morning are less because you become prey. Chances of you running at night is hard. Chances of you being able to do all those things limits you. If you live in the suburbs, we have a lot of security companies around. You can run whatever time. That makes it easy for you to be able to exercise. Supermarkets. If you come to the supermarket in the township and you come to the supermarket in the suburb, they're not stocked the same. The supermarket in the suburb is full of all the good foods that are good for my health. But if I go to the township, it's full of sugar, every single thing. Why? Because of volume and because of lack of money. They have to go for things that are failing, things that are bad for health, but they are cheap. So in the township, the supermarket is not stocked for health. It's stocked for convenience and for low pricing, affordability. And in the suburb, the supermarket is purely stocked for health. They don't really care about cost. And these are big things that play from an environmental point of view. Work. The kind of work that you do as a person determines. Majority of people nowadays don't do physical work. We sit behind the desk. Some people sit between 8, 12, 14 hours. So the biggest new cancer in the world now is sitting. Because your bum is the biggest, most active muscle in your body. And if you're sitting on it, your bum is only activated when you're working. And if you're sitting on it, and it's the biggest muscle in your body, your bum will always increase your metabolism by up to 50%. So if you're not using it, it means your metabolism is low. So work plays a very, very big part. Relationships. Relationships play a very big role when it comes to health. It's impossible to have a good relationship if you don't have money. When money goes out through the door, the love goes out through the window. So relationships need stability, and it's impossible in this world to have stability if you're not earning. So relationships play a very big part, because if you don't have enough money, then of course your stress levels are up. If your stress levels are up, it changes your hormonal balance, and if your hormonal balance are up, you keep on increasing when it comes to your cravings. Physical money. Money determines where you stay. Where you stay determines where you go to school. Where you stay determines what access you have to in terms of supermarkets. Where you stay determines the quality of food you'll have access to. And where you stay determines the level of your happiness. So for us to be healthy, we have to have a strategy of attracting as much money as possible. Remember, I didn't say make. I say attracting as much money as possible. And you cannot attract something unless you become a magnet. So we have to become money magnet. You have to build yourself into such a big magnet that everything around you, you get pulled, and in effect, you make money. Now, the reasons for weight gain from a physiological point of view, psychological point of view, physical point of view vary. And what we do differently when it comes to the Dream Body Fitness programs is, first and foremost, we do a discovery session with you. We have to find out what is the cause. Because based on us finding out what is the cause, then the outcome is the effect. We need to come up with a prescription. We need to come up with a blueprint that fulfills exactly what the doctor prescribed. Which of these points resonate with you? Which of these areas are you struggling with? Which of these P's do you think is the biggest cause of your weight gain? Don't feel shy. Share in the comment section below. Share and like this with your friends. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do the right thing. Don't forget in the comment section, book for a discovery session by clicking on the link, and God willing, I'll see you in the inside. This is your coach, Mululu X. Thank you for watching.